Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Build with Sophia, the podcast where we explore the journey, strategies, and mindset behind building successful businesses, meaningful careers, and purposeful living. If you have ever wondered how to attract more customers online without wasting money on marketing that doesn't work, then today's episode is for you. Our guest for today is Wincy Tower, founder of Uplift 360, a digital agency that helps builders and trade businesses grow through smarter websites, SEO, and measurable marketing strategies. With more than 20 years of experience, Tower has built his business from the ground up, learning through real world challenges rather than textbooks. His philosophy is simple: focus on what truly works, build trust, stay authentic, and create marketing that delivers real business results. He is also the host of the Built, Trusted, Chosen podcast, where he shared practical strategies for business growth and digital success. Tara, welcome to Build with Sophia. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Fantastic to be with you today. Thanks so much for the opportunity to speak. I'm obviously in Australia, quite a distance from you, and that's the power of the internet, isn't it, to be able to connect globally. So, it's been an exciting time in business and life of late with the rise of AI and the disruptions it's causing, but also the challenges that many of us face in terms of business. Certainly here in Australia, there's certain challenges in terms of the economy and the price of materials. We serve a lot of businesses in the construction and trades industry, and there's all sorts of different challenges they're facing. So we're really working with them, coming alongside them to support with their business growth, and learning more and more what it takes to grow a business in this day and age.
All right, Tara, you spent more than 2 decades helping businesses grow online. Can you tell us about your journey so far and what inspired you to start up Uplift 360?
Yeah, well, I always wanted to start my own business, but I started a lot earlier than I thought I would, simply because opportunity presented itself. I finished university, studied graphic design multimedia, and got my first job in a marketing company in Sydney. They were an award-winning marketing company, but they'd never designed a website, never done anything online. We only had one computer connected to the internet. We shared an email address. Back in those days, marketing really wasn't an online thing. The internet was really quite new. So they landed a job to design a website, and I designed that website for them and found I loved it. I loved the technical and the creative aspects of that kind of work. And that's what I pursued moving forward. So a few short years later, I was working in a company, and someone that I knew had tried to start a business, and they'd just not won enough work to keep it sustainable. So they said, right, I'm going to go and get a real job, is what he said. So basically he wanted to go back and be an employee with regular income and those sorts of things. And I said, well, what are you going to do with the few clients you have? And by this time, he only had 2 or 3 clients left. And he said, well, you can have them. He'd had enough. And I said, well, I will. And so I took those couple of clients, and that really was the start of my business. So I just started in the evenings. I didn't give away my full-time job at that time, but in a couple of years I did. It was just a way of getting started in the industry. I was so naive to business. I didn't know how to do a whole lot of things, just completely naive to business. I had a skill set and I knew what it took to build websites and design and so on. But I had to learn everything else the hard way. And so, yeah, it took baby steps and survived. It's over 20 years now, as you mentioned. So it's been a wild journey.
Okay, like you talked about learning the hard way. So what was the biggest lesson from those early years?
I think I was just so self-conscious and just had an inferiority complex, I suppose you would say. So the greatest skills that I built on, and this might sound interesting coming from like a tech company, we design websites and so on. So we programmers and so on. developers, but the emotional intelligence of connecting with other real people, and so that was the biggest things that I learned that really sustain and grow businesses powerfully. So some of the key things I did early on was join some mastermind groups, some networking groups. I was just getting myself into rooms with high quality and high caliber of people. You learn so much just by observing what they do, but also you start to become friends with these people and get insights at a deeper level when you have a coffee with them, let's say. And there's aspects of all of them that you would learn from and apply to your own life, and it becomes a part of you. They do say you become the sum total of the, I think it's 7 people, the most influential 7 people that you spend your time with will impact on how what you become. And so that emotional intelligence really was a key ingredient for business success. But that's even more important now. The last few years with the rise of AI is powerful and it's technology, but everyone has the capability to use the same technology. So what is it that makes us stand out and sets us apart? Well, it's out the way in which we're human and we show up as a human, that emotional intelligent piece, relating to people, understanding them at a deep human level is what's going to make entrepreneurs really stand out and grow sustainably into this new age we're living in right now.
So many businesses invest in websites, but still struggle to generate leads. What are the biggest mistakes you see companies making?
Yeah, there's a lot of mistakes you can make creating a website. And so from my point of view, your website should be a key pillar for your online marketing. And the reason being there's lots and lots of other platforms that you can market your business, social media, for example. But they're noisy places because you don't own the territory and there's lots of distraction out there. And also you've got to think about the user intent. So if someone's, let's say they're on Facebook, they're spending some time, they're doom scrolling, they're not necessarily looking for a business just like yours and they're not looking to engage anything like that. So the user intent is really important. So in my view, the goal is to get people off social media and into the website because that's the area you control. There's a couple of things that go wrong in terms of the website. Either you're not getting enough visitors, so enough eyeballs onto your website from, targeted people that might use your product or service, purchase from you. There's not enough people looking at it, or there's lots of people looking at it, but it's not engaging enough and causing them to make an inquiry. So there's those 2 key ingredients, enough traffic and enough conversion. And we work on both of those. And it depends on which part of the process is falling down for a particular business. And that'll indicate what we will work on first. And sometimes it's a matter of working on the traffic first. And then once the traffic is looking good, then we start doing the conversion optimization. So the conversion optimization, you can design a website in a way that guides the eye through the key messages. And realistically, the message is the priority for your website. So you want to guide the eye through because they're not going to read every word. They're just going to grasp some aspects of what you've published. Some people will read more than others. So you've got to make sure you grasp everyone depending on where they're at with how much they want to consume. So clever design will help guide the eye through the most important parts of the page, but also help them navigate around the website so they can find what they need quickly because we all rush online. But the priorities is some form of call to action. What do you want them to do as a next practical step, having read something on your website, having engaged in some way? You want that next logical step to be clear. So that's the call to action. So maybe it's to request a quote. Maybe it's to book a discovery call. Maybe it's to purchase something. There could be so many things, but you got to think about what you want, what a conversion looks like for you. What is it you're trying to get them to do as the next step? And that might only be a baby step toward becoming a fully fledged customer or client, but you've got to engage them in some way and be deliberate and intentional about how you do that.
The SEO has changed a lot with the rise of AI. Is SEO still relevant today? And what should business owners focus on now?
Yeah, SEO, absolutely. The good news is the same strategies and principles that worked really well for SEO, search engine optimization, still work. But they also work, if you do them well, to help you show up in large language models. So to help you and your business be recommended in AI platforms is really, really powerful because these days people are doing a lot of research in AI. So ChatGPT is one of the leaders, and the people will jump on there, have a conversation with their ChatGPT, sometimes verbally, sometimes just written. It's a conversation backward and forward. And ideally, if they're looking to transact in some way and your business can be recommended, that's ideal. And the good news is the search engine optimization strategies that we apply work in that context as well, because all of these platforms are trying to do the very same thing. They're trying to surface the very best valuable information to the person in which they're looking for that information. And then the way in which they search might be different. So if you jump on Google, people might still search for the service or the product and the location. So Plumber Melbourne might be something that people might search for in Google. I spoke about user intent before. People on Facebook are not looking to buy anything, but if someone's on Google and they're searching for a service in your location, well, they're likely to be almost ready to buy something. So they're a hot potential customer. So they're the ones you really want to focus on. And so that's why search engine optimization is powerful, and the strategies apply to being found everywhere. We call it search everywhere optimization simply because it's not just search engines anymore. It's a whole range of platforms that you could show up in if you do things right, and giving them the fuel in which they're looking for, and that's context and content. So these are large language models, and Google uses large language models, of course, as well. So they understand the context and the nuance of all the substantial content. So you need to publish lots of content in your website in order for the platforms to find it. And it needs to be quality content, bringing value to the world. But yeah, it's a bit of a balancing act. So that substantial content helps with that aspect. But then on your main sales-based pages, they're usually clear, concise, compelling. So structuring your site in a way that can facilitate both outcomes is a real priority for us.
For someone running a small business with limited marketing budget, what's the first thing they should do to improve their online presence?
Yeah, if you're really tight with budget, and I see this all the time, sometimes a very small business just have no budget whatsoever to invest in their own website and so on, or their own online strategy. So think about the things you can do yourself. And whilst they might not be perfect, they're going to start to build traction. So they're going to start building a presence. You really want to establish a reputation and presence so that if anyone is looking for you or your business, they have the potential to show up. So if you can't afford to hire someone to build a website, build a basic one yourself, knowing that eventually you'll do it more professionally when you can afford to do so. The sooner you get online, the better, because you're building authority and trust and reputation. Simply by having a website online for a long period of time shows Google you're an established business. So it helps you rank higher just by being around for the long term. So the sooner the better. So think about small micro steps you can take toward your end goal, knowing that things will change and adapt, especially if you're on a small budget. Think about the priority messaging you want to have. So get really clear and precise with exactly who your ideal client is, and go hang out in those spaces. By hang out, I mean in physical locations, if that's appropriate. There might be networking groups and so on in your town or your city that you can go to meet people. You want to get in the rooms with the real people that potentially might become customers or refer clients and customers to you. That's the physical, but also you want to be in the digital room, so to speak. So if, say, you're a business-to-business solution, maybe you want to focus your attention on LinkedIn more so than anything else. But if you're dealing with a different type of audience, maybe it's a retail kind of brand. If it's a young brand, for example, maybe you're on TikTok a little bit more. So focus on those platforms that are going to give you the best value based on where your ideal client is spending their time, and get a message that's really resonating with them. So be unique, be compelling, be specific about who you want to target and go after them. You'll get others by accident, but you really want to target the very best type of client you or customer that you want to work for, and the others will come by accident anyway.
Okay, so how do online reviews, testimonial, and customer trust influence business growth today?
Yeah, well, we're seeing an erosion of trust in so many aspects of life right now, simply because we don't trust what we read. It might be written by AI, so we don't necessarily trust it. Sometimes things are published and we don't even know if anyone's even proofread it. There's a lot of people publishing online these days in their blogs and so on in an attempt to rank highly, but they're not even reading what they're publishing. So that's a lack of authenticity. And so there's also the lack of authenticity with photographs. They're AI created photographs and they might look realistic, but we don't trust them because we know they're just computer generated. Also videos, we see videos all the time and it's kind of exciting. You see videos that look realistic. They might be celebrities that have long passed and it's kind of fun to watch them. It looks super real, but it's also terrifying because it means we know that we can't trust anything. We're having disruption politically as well here in Australia with people creating videos of politicians that just are not authentic. And so that's a frightening world to live in. But what it means is trust is being eroded in every aspect of life. So that's certainly a massive challenge for any business trying to market themselves, because marketing is trying to present your business to the appropriate people in the most positive light you can. So you can attract the ideal clients in. So the trust pillars are more important than ever before. So anything that can't be easily manufactured or faked. Google reviews, they're really difficult to artificially create. Some people try. You can. There's dodgy services out there where you can get fake Google reviews, but the risks are great. If Google find out, you get penalized and removed. You can get wiped completely. So that's a horrible outcome, and I would never suggest anyone do that. So think about attracting quality reviews, write case studies, stories, examples, anything that proves you do what you say you do. And, be specific about the types of clients. If you're writing a story or a case study of some project you've delivered upon or an outcome you've created for somebody, talk about that in your website. Think about your clients as your best marketing tool for the next wave of marketing material that you produce, simply because your very best next customer likely looks just like your current very best client to a large degree. So think about how you're going to use that existing customer relationship and trust factors. So the Google review, the case study, the story, anything you can publish about that customer and project. Obviously, you need permission in some circumstances, but it can be a great lever to build back some of that trust that's being eroded dramatically in every industry, in every sphere of life, really. So yeah, those trust signals are really important.
So talking about AI, how should entrepreneurs use AI without losing their unique voice and brand identity?
Yeah, that's the real risk, isn't it? Because we've all seen what's called the AI slop. So content that just feels like it's written by AI, and it's got some key things that we've all come to realize, like the M dash. If we see that too frequently, not many people were typing that simply. It's just not a common thing, but AI seems to push that in a fair bit. So if we see those M dashes, we kind of have a sense that it's not really written by a human. Now, there's always been people who have used them naturally, but I would recommend that they don't, simply because people will assume it's AI generated. So you really want to set up guardrails for your own business and your own content. So train your own AI to talk and publish just like what you would normally write. So and if you're writing on behalf of other people, that's the power. That's a beautiful thing, because copywriters previously, they would have style guides provided oftentimes for larger companies, so the content writing would always be in a consistent voice and style. But what would happen, they would be writing for a particular customer, have followed the style guide, but it's so elaborate and they would soon forget. So it'd start writing and then they'd go back upon their own styles and technique, and then they'd have to adjust again and adjust. But the style guide, once upon a time we'd have a copywriting style guide. Now you can use that copywriting style guide as a big prompt to say, this is the style in which we want the content to be produced, and it will do a magnificent job of keeping it consistent. So your own voice, your own language, the way in which you describe things, your AI can learn these things for you, but you really want to make sure you set those guardrails up in place appropriately, so that you don't create AI slop, because that's going to be detrimental to your business.
That's nice. Looking back over your career, what's one mistake that unfortunately become one of your greatest learning experience?
Yeah, there's been lots of mistakes. I mean, I suppose all of us have various challenges through our business journey, and things, happen in life outside of our control sometimes, or sometimes just by a lack of understanding or awareness for ourselves at the time, and we make mistakes. So one was a horrific mistake, which turned out to be a great learning. So a number of years ago, I had a lead developer, and I could sense he was getting bored with the work we were doing. He was a brilliant mind, really, really smart guy. And so our level of work was probably below his capability, so it wasn't stretching him enough. And I could sense that. I could see that. Wonderful guy, but just getting a little bit bored with the work. So a project came along across my desk that was really complex, something I didn't know how to build. It was a dating website. So it was before Tinder and all the apps for dating. People were jumping on websites, and it was a specific type of scope that they needed, lots of sophisticated programming behind the scenes. And I said to my lead developer, hey, do you know how to build this? And he said, yeah, of course I do. I said, well, I've got no idea, so can you create the proposal? And he did that. I presented it. We won the job. And it was a massive job scheduled to take months. And within, I think, 2 weeks, he'd quit working with us. So all of a sudden, I had this massive job, the proposal that we'd won. And I feel a proposal is a promise. So I wanted to deliver upon that. But it took so many late nights and early mornings and learning from me. And it meant that I couldn't take on any other jobs in the meantime. So we lost a whole lot of money. And I realized, sticking to our niche, sticking to our lane, sticking to what we do best is the learning. I tried to deviate from that just to keep one employee engaged, and it simply didn't work. So lesson learned the hard way. And from there on, I really felt like I'm going to be really specific and niched and intentional about the types of clients and work that we deliver, and the kind of outcomes we produce. And you just get better and better at the niche in which you serve.
What's your daily habit or business practice that have helped you remain through these economic challenges and changing markets?
Yeah, consistency is always important, but I've always felt, for me personally, I like to think of things in terms of seasons and the flow of things. So sometimes my work schedule can fluctuate, but I feel as though I've got a rhythm. It's more of a rhythm than a set schedule these days. And I just know myself a whole lot better. As a young man, I could stay up late and get up really early and be productive. But as an older man, I can't function like that anymore. So I now know sometimes I work super early in the morning doing podcasts like this one and so on. Being on the other side of the planet, for a lot of podcasters, I'm up early. So I just set my schedule around what I'm doing. But when I sense I'm overworked, which sometimes happens, I like to push the boundaries and really create a lot of outcomes and achieve a lot. I'm really driven in that way, but I've found setting up rhythms where I can relax as well. And so take a breath. There's telltale signs in my own body that I know that I'm pushing myself too hard. I'll start to get a sore throat. So that's the first signal for me to realize, hey, I'm pushing it too hard and I need to take a bit of a rest. Take some, get an early night's sleep, or take some time off, those sorts of things. As a young man, I didn't, and I would just get myself sick, and then no productivity whatsoever from that point on. So I would say just figure out your own way in which you work, and work toward that sort of whatever schedule works for you. That's the beauty of being an entrepreneur. You set your own schedule, you set your own time frames, you set your own agenda, and you should use that to advantage. You don't need to work a regular day, 9 to 5, whatever it is, because you've got the ability and capacity to adjust according to what works best for you. And I think that's the key ingredient. As I've matured and been in this game a long time now, I've figured that out for myself, and it took a long time to get there.
If you were starting a business from the scratch today, knowing everything you know now, what would be your first 3 priorities?
Yeah, starting from scratch, I think the first thing I would do is to get myself in a quality mastermind group. and I'd look for the most influential room that I could be in. So, I joined various groups. I joined a Professional Speakers Australia, PSA, here in Australia, and that was for professional speakers. I wasn't a professional speaker, but they allowed me to join their group simply because I took a workshop with them. I was invited to speak for them, to them, and they said, "Oh, would you like to join us?" And I said, "I'm not a speaker." And they said, "What are you talking about? You just spoke to us just now in a workshop." I said, "Oh, okay." So they accepted me in, and I felt inferior to the other people in that room. They were professional, highly credentialed speakers, public speakers, platform speakers, speaking for a sizable fee, some of them significant fees. So, but the ability to join that group allowed me to grow and learn a whole lot from them. So I would say join groups of people that you can learn from would be the key first step. The other things too the second thing would be not to worry about having everything perfect before you launch. I would say launch as soon as you can, as small as you can, and build momentum, because things will adjust and adapt as you get progress. And the beauty of starting small is you have the capacity to adjust your strategy somewhat, and you learn what the market wants. We've built websites for clients, really, really complex websites with lots and lots of features and functions. And they launch the website, and whilst they're successful, there's a whole bunch of things that they learn after the launch that they realize, hey, the customer doesn't even want these things that we spent a fortune building. So if they had have built in a smaller way, they probably would have discovered those things and slightly adjusted their strategy and what they created. So the first thing, join some networking or mastermind groups that people you can learn from. Second would be to start as small as you can and build from there the momentum. And the third thing would be to build some level of resilience, because tough times will come. And so sometimes people over leverage themselves. They might go get a loan or something, and sometimes that's required. You might buy a franchise, let's say, or you might have an investment to set up your business. Think about how you can minimize your risk in terms of how much finance you get. What can you do yourself without finance? What can you do to build some level of resilience so you don't lose? So if things go horribly wrong, you're not left in the lurch. Business can change instantly. You can have a war on the other side of the planet, and all of a sudden your economy is shaken up. What are you going to do if things change like that? It's completely outside of your control. No one expected what's happened fairly recently to have happened. Well, certainly a lot of people here didn't realize the impact it might have on our nation, and there's not an end in sight. So the businesses with a level of resilience that haven't over leveraged in terms of getting finance and don't have a whole lot of debt are going to be able to see this time through, and things will change. Things always change. So just build with the long term in mind, and that would be what will set your business up well for the future.
Okay, Tara. So, Tara, please, where can our listeners connect with you to learn more about Uplift 360 and access your resources?
Yeah, uplift360.com.au is the website. So it's an Australian website, but we serve clients all around the world, and you can book a strategy call with me directly on the homepage there. There's a big button, you won't miss it. A strategy call. There's no obligation with that call. I'll speak to you in person, and we'll brainstorm some ideas of what might take your business to the next level.
All right, Tara. Thank you so much for joining me today. This conversation has been packed with practical insight and refreshing honesty. One of my biggest take home is that successful marketing isn't just about chasing everyone, or chasing every new trend. It's about building trust, staying authentic, and consistently delivering value to your audience. So everyone listening, I hope today's episode encouraged you to simplify your marketing and also focus on your clients as your best marketing strategy and tools. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to Build with Sophia, leave us a review, and share this conversation with a fellow entrepreneur or business owner. Until next time, keep building your business, your confidence, and your future. I am Sophia, and this is Build with Sophia.
Okay, thanks, Sophia. So that was a brilliant episode. I'll share it around once you publish it.